All right, welcome to Tinfoil Hat, live from the Gold, Silver, Bitcoin Wolfpack studio. Just go to samtripoli.gold, use the promo code Tinfoil, and you too can get it on a precious metals game for as little as $50 a month. And we thank Wise Wolf Gold and Silver for sponsoring the show. Very excited to have our next guest on. He's been on once or twice before, and they were nothing but bangers, and he's doing the Lord's work out there. He is a investigator and author, and he is running the Epstein Justice .com. Very excited to have him on. The powerful Nick Bryant. How are you, sir?
Great to be with you, Sam.
We're very excited to have you on. I follow you, and I think you're doing amazing work, and I think you're very important. So thank you. Nick, for those who may not be familiar with your last appearance, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and where our listeners can find you?
I've been a writer, professional writer for 35 years, and I've been a freelance writer for, about 22 years, actually longer than that, 26 years. And I've dug into some of the darkest crevices of the human condition. And I've written articles about very disparate things. The first major book I wrote was called The Franklin Scandal. I'd authored another book prior to that, but The Franklin Scandal was about a child trafficking network that flew kids from coast to coast, and one of the pimps was a CIA asset. And there was blackmail involved, and it was what we're seeing with Epstein is almost a carbon copy of the Franklin Scandal, except with the Franklin Scandal, it was Republicans molesting little boys. And with Epstein, we're seeing Democrats molesting little girls. I think that seems to be like maybe a partisan divide. I don't know. But that book got published. I spent 7 years on that book, and it got published. And the message of it was very radical. When you cover up a crime, you're aiding and abetting that crime. And I was saying that the federal government was aiding and abetting child trafficking. And nobody wanted to hear that message. And this is in 2009, 2010, when podcasts were much less sophisticated than they are now. And I was getting on podcasts and people were talking to me about the Illuminati and shape-shifting reptilians and things like that. And then at a certain point, I couldn't take it anymore. But then I wrote a couple more books, Compromised, The Politics of Sex, Lies, and Blackmail. And that's from the perspective of someone who used to run a gay escort service in D.C. And CIA assets would use his escorts to compromise closeted politicians. And then I wrote a book about Watergate. And at the heart of Watergate is the CIA honey trap. That's not too many people know about it, but it's been covered up very assiduously. So I found myself, after the Franklin scandal, I was really bummed out. And I found myself looking at what was going on with Epstein. And with Epstein, there were girls that had come forward, underage girls that had come forward. But a grand jury had said that Epstein hadn't molested a single minor. And that's what happened with the Franklin scandal. 2 grand juries came forward and said that not a single minor had been molested. So that kind of caught my attention, and I went down to Florida and I started doing what I do. I was pounding the pavement, knocking on doors. And then I got Epstein's Black Book. And that was revelatory to me. There was a number of victims in the Black Book, and I started calling them. And then at that point, the first phone call was kind of strange. I was talking to a girl's mother. But the girl was in the room, and she was willing to answer my questions via her mother. And she told me that Epstein had molested her initially when she was 13 years old. And then I talked to someone else about being flown. And then there was someone who said, I've been flown to an island. And that's when I got a bead on Jeffrey Epstein. And I was finding this stuff out in 2011, years before the story broke. And I came back to New York with the black book, and nobody wanted to touch it. I mean, I could not.
That's crazy.
I live in the epicenter of media, and no one wanted to touch the black book. So it just kind of caught dust in a corner of my apartment. And then finally in 2012, Gawker published it. And by that time, I'd had the flight logs, and Gawker published those too. So that was the story of how the black book got ushered to national consciousness.
Well, thank you for that. Do you have a website you want them to check out or anything like that?
You can check me out at EpsteinJustice.com. That's the most important thing. But if you want to take a look at the books that I've written or the blogs that I've written, you can go to NickBryantNYC.com.
All right. Well, those are available in the description of the episode below. So, obviously I haven't been following this as long as you have. You're kind of like in the forefront of this, exposing this super dark blackmailing scheme. But I've been following this for what I would consider a long time. This show is 9 years old. It one of the earliest shows we were discussing, Pizzagate and all that stuff. And I got excommunicated by a lot of people in Hollywood. I got physically touched, and stuff like that. So then all this stuff comes out, and and it's super exciting that the masses are waking up to it. But what I find really crazy are these people that are trying to gaslight everybody into saying there's nothing in these emails. And even though we only have half or less than half, it seems pretty damning, but yet there's this gaslighting going on. And, Michael Tracy and his famous pedo panic and stuff like that. And I go, it's like you listed all these blackmailing rings, which have all this stuff into it. What do you think that is? Is it, Tracy's starting to get litigious with people, so I want to pick my words very specifically. Do you think there's counter motives involved?
Well, of course. I mean, the Trump administration is saying that Epstein and Maxwell had no co-conspirators, which is absurd and laughable. Michael Tracy, I call him Mikey. Mikey came after me after an interview I gave Chris Hedges, a Pulitzer Prize winning journalist. And Mikey had all these bullets of how I'd exaggerated and lied and told outright falsehoods. And I spent 7,000 words addressing Mikey's critique of me. And I ended up, throughout that entire interview, just through my memory, my old senior citizen memory, I made 4 minor mistakes, and Mikey made 8 mistakes criticizing me. If you want to read my deconstruction of Mikey, go to my blog, and it's under Mikey and Me, a Love Story.
It just seems crazy to me because, again, we listen, you can add the Finders to this, Nexium, you can just go on forever. I mean, the Clinton Foundation was, in just 1 year, had 5 associates on trial for some sort of human trafficking. And to sit there and go, well, where are the specifics here? And there are specifics in these emails, but then to be like, well, even Megyn Kelly, who seems to be more right than wrong lately, she does have her blind spots, tried to dismiss it as, they're like 16-year-olds and 15-year-olds and 17-year-olds. They're not like newborns or infants. And there is a difference between a 16-year-old and a 4-year-old, even though they're both minors. There is a difference, but to me, it just seems like you're just trying to run interference at this point, and you're trying to lessen the cut that people are starting to wake up to, and it just seems dangerous. It's like, no, let's deal with everybody. This notion of pedo panic and stuff like that, which is a reference to satanic panic and the Red Scare, which, let's face it, afterwards, turned out to be there was actually something there. There was stuff involved with that elementary school. There was stuff involved with the Memphis 3. Communism was a big problem at that point, like we see right now. And I'm not trying to get political because I don't know your stance on those, and that's not important right now. But there were things to those. So this notion of this psyop of panic is kind of crazy to me. And we just live in this upside down world of where it's like, I grew up on thinking you protect children at all cost. Like they're the most precious thing on this planet. Why are we trying to be civil with this when these people are completely uncivil?
These emails have shown that Epstein had multiple co-conspirators. They've shown that there was torture involved. They've shown that there were girls that were under 12 years old involved.
Wow.
And these are concrete examples. I think that there's disinformation in those emails. I think there's misinformation in those emails, but then I think a lot of them are actually, although they're true, they're just dripping with evil. And when Epstein responds to the Sheikh in United Arab Emirates, I loved the torture video. How are we supposed to, interpret that other than Epstein loved the torture video? When Epstein's sending, or when girls that are 11 years old are getting pictures of the JPEGs of them are getting sent to Epstein, how are we supposed to interpret that? There was a UCLA neuroscientist named Mark Tramo. He had an MD and a PhD, and he wrote an email to Epstein on how to enhance an infant's sucking ability. And if he had written it to someone else, maybe he could get out of it, but he had written it to Jeffrey Epstein, and he's no longer on the UCLA website. There was a Harvard mathematician named Martin Nowak who also talked to Jeffrey Epstein about torture. He is on leave from Harvard right now. So there are these minor ramifications happening. These people need to be held accountable for a lot more than just stepping down from their job. But that shows you the kind of evil that we're dealing with. And I've always said that Epstein is a psychopath and he doesn't have to deal with any kind of compunction or a conscience. And he's going to do whatever he wants.
You say you think he's still alive? You're talking about like he's alive.
I would have to say, I personally believe that he's dead, but that's, open for interpretation.
There's a lot with these, like, oh, he faked his death, and I'm not saying he didn't or he did, but it seems like it's much easier and cleaner to off him.
Yeah.
Than to go through all this stuff that's going on. And there's little things that make you think that maybe he is still alive. But it just seems easier, even with the Charlie Kirk stuff. They're like, he's in New Zealand. I'm like, that's so much work. Like, why aren't they just off them and then they all move on in their life? It's very interesting to me. I live in Hollywood, and I've been out here for 27 years, and I have watched some of the worst people get like to the highest levels. And why do you think that there's this movement to push really dark individuals into positions of power?
The best way I can answer that is when I was investigating the Franklin scandal, I got to a blackmail photographer. And I was trying to get my head around it all because no one had ever really written a book about it. Now people can read it in a book, but I'd never read anything about it in a book. So I asked him, how does this work? Can you give me an analogy that I can get my head around with all this? Because it just seemed, it was so evil and it was sprawling, and I was just having a hard time making sense of it. And he said to me, once you're compromised, it's like you're on a yacht. And it's a beautiful yacht, and it's a beautiful day, and you can have anything you want on the yacht. But if you decide to get off the yacht, the people on the yacht are going to make sure that you drown. I believe that's how Hollywood works. I believe that's how politics works. I think once you're on the yacht, you'll experience some extremely auspicious upward mobility.
So there's been a lot of talk about Epstein on why he picked. What is the initial thing? There's a lot of videos coming out involving his last name, where his heritage is from in Germany, the powerful group of Epsteins out there. There's an area or a city called Epstein in Germany. But because I'm always like, what is the thing that through their data they have calculated that this is the guy that we want to push forward. This is the guy. He's connected through his bloodlines. The data shows he's a psychopath. He would off his mother just for money, power, and sex. In learning about Epstein, what do you think it was the thing that got the ball rolling for him into this position of power?
You have to keep in mind that his father was a gardener for New York City. So, and he grew up in working class Coney Island. And how can we explain someone whose father was a gardener, who grew up in working class Coney Island, ascending to the heights that he ascended to? I put a lot of thought into that. He did go to Interlochen Arts Camp when he was a teenager. He was an amazing piano player as a kid. And Interlochen Art School is one of the preeminent art schools in the country. It's not quite up there with Juilliard, but it's very, very prestigious. So here's a guy from a working class family that ends up at Interlochen, which is very expensive. And then at that time, when Jeffrey Epstein was in high school, the program was started by Donald Barr, Bill Barr's father. And he was OSS, and it was being funded by the National Science Foundation, which is definitely takes CI money. And what he was doing is he was getting groups of talented kids from all around New York City, and they would spend Saturday at Columbia getting lectures. And now he left that, but that program continued. And I've tried to find out whether or not Jeffrey Epstein was part of that program, because I do believe that that program had heavy-duty intelligence connections. So that would have been a place where Jeffrey Epstein could have been inserted, because Donald Barr goes on to be the headmaster of Dalton School, which is one of the most prestigious schools in the United States. And Donald Barr hires him. Now, Donald Barr is an autocratic, fascist, by the rules kind of guy. Jeffrey Epstein did not even have a college degree. You practically need PhDs to teach at Dalton. So I believe that there was some kind of, I can't prove it, I've tried to prove it, but it's difficult to prove it. I believe that there was some kind of connection between Donald Barr and Jeffrey Epstein. And that's how Jeffrey Epstein got hired. Now, Donald Barr would leave that year, and Jeffrey Epstein would only last for a couple of years at Dalton. But then Bear Stearns hired him. And he ascended the ranks of Bear Stearns. He became a partner within a couple of years. And here's a guy that doesn't even have a college degree. Now, and here's another place where he could have had a connection with intelligence, because Bear Stearns was working with BCCI. And BCCI was probably the dirtiest bank of all time. It laundered money for drug dealers. It laundered money for mercenaries. It laundered money for arms traffickers. It laundered money for the CIA. And then he's booted out of Bear Stearns because of insider trading, but nothing happens to him. And then he ends up in business with Doug Leese, who's a big-time arms dealer in the UK. And he is definitely plugged in to the government, Douglas Leese. And just a nasty, repellent human being, which I think most arms traffickers are.
Yes.
But Epstein was working for him. And then in the early 80s, he came back and he started a tax relief for the rich with a guy named Stan Pottinger, who had been the assistant attorney general and who at that time was involved in selling arms to Iran via the CIA. And Epstein was involved selling arms to Iran via Douglas Leese. So I think that by that time, he was totally integrated.
Hey guys, Bitcoin is making a little run back. Some of your other coins are doing pretty good too. Got to check it out. And there's one place if you're looking for the next crypto to invest in, check out our good friend, James McMahon, and Copy My Crypto. Let me tell you about Copy My Crypto. Does it piss you off to watch crypto fly up in price for over a decade and you've still done nothing about it? Yeah, it makes sense. Crypto is complicated and really boring. But here's the good news. You don't need to know a thing about crypto or to make money like so many have. The copymycrypto.com membership site shows you the exact cryptos that YouTuber James McMahon personally owns, which means you just copy him. It's like having a big brother who knows what he's doing. You don't need to know a thing about crypto or how to invest. You just simply copy along. So let me tell you about James, okay? He runs Crypto with James YouTube channel, which has like 100,000 followers on it, like subscribers. It's unbelievable. In the summer of 2020, he told his viewers to buy 26 cryptos. Had you put in $100 in each one, it went on to be worth over $123,000. Of the 26 cryptos, his top pick of the year, the one he singled out, called Phantom, went up 692 times from when he said, okay? That one call alone retired a number of people, including guys in their 20s and 30s. Remember, this is public knowledge. You can go on YouTube and verify this yourself. So if you'd like to join the over 3,000 members who copy James, then pause what you're doing and head right over to copymycrypto.com/TFH. That's copymycrypto.com/TFH. That's TFH. You'll not only find proof of everything I've said, but our viewers get full access for just $1. Okay? Yes, you've missed out on Bitcoin. That's fine. You can even get a little piece, but don't even worry about that. But there's over 2 million other cryptos. Do you really think you've missed out on all of them? Guys, don't waste any more time, okay? Go to the site and read it for yourself. Once again, that's copymycrypto.com/tinfoil hat. It's ending money worries for so many. It just may do the same for you. And we thank him for sponsoring the show. Guys, you know I love my nicotine. And there's no better nicotine out there than Nick Nack. Let me tell you about Nick Nack. Nicotine, in its glory days, fueled the greatest minds, the boldest leaders, and the quiet legends who simply got the job done, just like Daddy over here, okay? Somewhere along the way, we lost the plot. Effeminacy creeped in. Men traded their duties for comfort. Big tobacco sold us nothing but compromise. Nick Nack raises the old banner again.
This is nicotine perfected, honest and intentional, manufactured in the United States by a family-owned company that refuses to compromise. Nick Nack is a fully dissolvable nicotine lozenge, a lip brick, if you will, made with just 6 premium ingredients, clearly listed on the back. You know exactly what's in it. No smoke, no pouch, nothing hidden. Made with real essential oils for real flavor, available in both 3 and 6 milligram options. Raise the standard, reject the slop, join the pursuit of the good, the true, and the beautiful.
I love nicotine and Nick Nacks so much, okay? Get your Nick Nacks, that's NICNACS, okay? That's nicknack.com/tinfoil, NICNAC.com, and use the code tinfoil for 20% off, or use the store locator to find knickknacks near you. Knickknack, crush your vice. I love that. And we thank them for sponsoring the show. Nicotine.
Warning, this product contains nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive chemical.
That is the big question. Why did he pick him? Or maybe there's just a bunch of Epsteins and he's the one that was able to go the farthest. I mean, I'm sure we have the Canadian Epstein, that one guy with the weird magician's hair, and he just got arrested and tried and convicted. But it's a very interesting thing. Now, Nick, this is another question people are asking, and there's just this, weird debate, and I don't know how important it is, but it seems to be a pretty passionate debate, and that is, who do you think was handling who? Do you think Ghislaine Maxwell was the brains of the operation, or helped him get access to all this stuff, or was Jeffrey Epstein basically making Ghislaine Maxwell do his bidding and use her contacts through her father and her sisters to ascend up the ranks of power?
Ghislaine's father, Robert Maxwell, was a nasty piece of work. And I befriended former Israeli spy Ari Ben-Menashe. And he told me, this is on public record, that Maxwell had this huge publishing empire. And he was plundering the pension funds of all the workers that worked for his huge publishing empire. And he tried to blackmail the Israelis into helping him replenish those pensions. And instead of, it's a bad idea to blackmail an intelligence agency.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's what led to his demise. Now, that's what Ari Ben-Menashe has told me. But Epstein said the exact same thing in an email, that Maxwell was killed because he was trying to blackmail the Mossad. I found that to be very interesting. So I think by the time that Epstein really got going, Ghislaine Maxwell came along, and she built a machine that enabled Jeffrey Epstein to just destroy hundreds of girls. She was the one that built the machine. Jeffrey Epstein had the connections. So I think it was a partnership. With the Franklin scandal, there was Lawrence King and Craig Spence. And Lawrence King was in Omaha, and he had the connection for the kids. And Craig Spence was a CI asset whose house was right for audiovisual blackmail. And a lot of the pedophilic parties would go down there. So I think that it's the King-Spence relationship is very similar to the Ghislaine Maxwell-Jeffrey Epstein relationship.
Yeah, I think they were like a power couple. Like, they literally went together to events, then literally acted like...
There's an old saying, behind every powerful man, there's a great woman. I mean, it literally is this right here. I mean, it's kind of crazy.
Do you know she knows how to, like, drive a helicopter and a submarine? Yeah, she was, like, a real, like,
she's
a
on
great woman.
Reddit.
She's like the Bill Burr of pedo wives.
Yeah, it's very crazy to me. And again, there's some weird kind of parallels to Erica Kirk. I don't want to get into that because that's not what you're here to talk about. But as we learn more about Erica Kirk, we see CIA ties through her parents and what seems to be an MK Ultra sex kitten kind of spy agent. And, it seems like Maxwell groomed his daughters to do that. And, I'm not to be, well, who cares? They're evil people, but she seemed to be the pretty one that he sent out to the parties. And then the other two sisters seem to be more of in the office, running the computer systems. There's a discussion right now that her sister, I forget her name, basically controls the FBI computers. Like, that's a lot of power right there.
I think it's entirely within the realm of reason that Maxwell molested his daughter. Maxwell is another guy who's a psychopath who has no moral barometer. And narcissists like that, they justify molesting their daughters because they think that they're helping their daughters out.
Jeez,
and that would not surprise me if Robert Maxwell had been molesting Ghislaine Maxwell. And that's how she got so bent sexually, because she was definitely brutalizing these kids. She was part of those pedophilic orgies.
Now, have you been able to talk to anybody, in particular, any of the women that worked with Epstein?
Well, I've talked to a number of the victims, but so this is kind of interesting. In this latest tranche of emails, I'm in the emails.
Whoa.
But for a good reason.
Yeah.
So I got the Black Book in October of 2011. And once I concluded that Jeffrey Epstein was running a network, I started to call his inner circle. And the only person that answered the phone was Sarah Kellen, who is really a malevolent individual. She led hundreds of lambs to the slaughter. And she wanted to tell me how mean the media had been to her. And I really couldn't muster up any kind of commiseration for her. And I think that she kind of got a bad vibe for me, because I probably was...
Yeah.
I probably came across as someone who thought she was evil, which I think is true.
She is.
So someone sent an email to all of Jeffrey Epstein's inner circle. We know who the emails were sent to, but we don't know who the sender was. And it talked about, there's a journalist, Nick Bryant, down here asking questions. Everybody be, quote unquote, aware of him. And then they had my picture in the email.
Damn.
So they put the Epstein people put out an APB on me.
Really, dude? That's crazy.
Yeah.
There's some, you have, you know, the old saying is hurt people hurt people.
Yes.
And, you know, there's, for a woman to do that to a little girl, the amount of damage that must be done to that grown-up woman is horrifying to think about. To lead somebody down, I mean, and just be like, just like you said, basically a chum in a Shark Tank. And to put those little girls in there, and then to continue the cycle of trauma.
It's really a tragedy. But where our government comes into play is, and the emails came out, the FBI was told about Epstein in 1996. If the FBI had acted on that information in 1996, hundreds of girls could have been saved. And these girls and young women, I've talked to a number of them, and they're severely damaged, which is completely reasonable. I mean, that's how it works out. But for the government to let Jeffrey Epstein molest girls from 1996, and then there was the sweetheart deal in 2008, where that was barely a speed bump, and he went all the way to 2019. So there were a lot of opportunities to stop Jeffrey Epstein from molesting little girls, but our federal government did not do it. It's really, it's a tragedy.
Do you think they'll have like an excuse of like, well, we couldn't get him because he was in this operation, and if we got him, the operation, you know, because they kind of do that with like gangs and stuff, where they kind of justify why they wouldn't arrest them during that moment because it would ruin the whole operation. Do you think they're gonna have an excuse like that?
Well, I mean, they can have that excuse. The problem is we're X number of years past it, and they've done nothing to put it to an end, and they've actually done the exact opposite. They've doubled down and protected them even more. So it's like that excuse, I think if they use that, that would ring hollow with the population.
I didn't know that. Yeah, I've been studying Epstein for many years, and I didn't know this until relatively recently. But the feds drafted a 60-count indictment against Epstein. And I could never pin that down. I was told that a grand jury had been impaneled and then been adjourned, and then I was told that there wasn't a grand jury. But actually, the Department of Justice had a grand jury, and the FBI did an amazing job. And they had a list of 36 victims, but they knew of 40. And they were going to indict Jeffrey Epstein on 60 different counts that would have ensured he never would have saw the light of day again. Now, what happened was, and there is even an email about this, about the top FBI brass, because Alexander Acosta was the U.S. Attorney for Southern Florida, and he's taken a lot of heat about that. And I thought that he caved in pretty quickly. But I was wrong, because there's an email where the quote unquote top brass of the FBI are going down to Florida to twist his arm. And Alexander Acosta by himself, as a U.S. attorney, would not have covered up a nationwide pedophile network or an international pedophile network. A U.S. attorney wouldn't go out on a limb like that. And there's only two people that can tell a U.S. attorney to stand down. One is the attorney general and one is the president. The attorney general at that time was Alberto Gonzalez. And an attorney general isn't going to go out on a limb and unilaterally cover up a pedophile network unless his boss tells him to. And his boss at that point was George Bush, too. The cognitively challenged George Bush. So that's where these mandates emanated from, the Oval Office.
The White House. Yeah.
Yes.
You know, as a young man, we grew up, my grandfather was a cop. My cousin is a cop. We always looked at police officers in a certain way, and that extended to the FBI and the CIA as we understood it. They're out there fighting crime. They're trying to protect us and all that stuff. What is your view of them now after all these years of digging into these rings? Like, what do you think the actual purpose of these agencies are?
The CIA was problematic from its inception in 1947. And actually, Harry Truman was the president who decided to implement the CIA. And he thought it was he came to look at it as a gross mistake. Because the CIA took a certain amount of autonomy onto itself. And it started developing various funding mechanisms. And we were in a pretty hardcore battle with the Soviet Union, and Joseph Stalin had the bomb. Now, there's another guy that's a psychopath and really doesn't care about humans too much, is Joseph Stalin. So the people in the CIA felt like fighting communism was too important to be left to politicians. So they decided to develop a lot of funding mechanisms so they could fight communism without having to worry about the politicians. And William Colby, who would become CIA director, who had a mysterious death.
Yeah.
He went canoeing when he was like 74 years old in April and didn't have shoes on. I mean, the whole thing was kind of strange. But anyway, William Colby, I knew someone that knew William Colby fairly well. And he had two regrets about the CIA. He said developing these funding mechanisms where we weren't accountable, he regretted that. And then the stuff that the CIA did with children, he also regretted that too.
With who?
Children.
With children.
Oh my God. It just seems to me like they've become like private security for the elites. And it seems like, and even with our law enforcement, and again, my family is in law enforcement, so I've always had a positive view of them. But it almost seems like their job is just to keep the elites protected. Like, that's when they really show up. It's like when the immigrants went to, what was that island where all the rich people go? Nantucket? No, that one Martha's Vineyard.
Martha's Vineyard, yeah.
And the illegals were there for about 5 minutes before they put them back onto the buses and the planes and shipped them out. That seems to be the job. And then the way they've manipulated our culture, it just seems like we live in an upside down world right now. It's very crazy to me, and it sucks because who do we turn to deal out justice?
Well, at this point, when the government is, as I said earlier, when you cover up a crime, you're aiding and abetting that crime. And when your government is aiding and abetting child sex trafficking, something has gone seriously wrong with your government. And I think it's a dark, malignant corner of the CIA. I think there are some people in the CIA that are good people trying to do the right thing. But there's that dark, malignant corner that has the compromat and does all these other things. And they have a tremendous amount of power. They have a tremendous amount of power over our politicians because a lot of our politicians are compromised. And what we're proposing with Epstein Justice is an independent congressional commission. That is the only way we're going to have a shot at cleaning out our government. And we talked about it the last time I was on. It was just kind of starting to congeal. An independent congressional commission does not need a presidential signature. It does need a majority in the House, and it needs a majority in the Senate. But those type of commissions incorporate non-government personnel for investigations. And that's what we need, is an independent congressional commission that incorporates non-government personnel. Because if we continue, and if this stays within our political system, our political ecosystem, we're never going to get the truth. We're never going to get the truth about these documents. We're never going to get them unredacted. So it's really up to us as Americans. And I think that this might be the best, might be the best time in our lives to clean out our government. And it might be the best time ever to clean out our government before our leaders take us off a cliff.
Again, I live in LA. I went through the early 2000s Me Too movement, in which, grown actresses accuse some people of some bad things, but also like minimal things, almost flirtation, maybe past that, but not like what we're hearing in these Epstein files. And yet there was very swift justice. People were excommunicated. People who really, there wasn't any evidence of wrongdoing. I'm not saying that they might not have done something we don't know about, but there's really no evidence of any wrongdoing, and they were just completely annihilated. Yet when it comes to this, it seems to be, and we saw this with the Catholics when all that scandal was coming out, this almost fear of looking at what is being exposed. And people are very afraid to look in the beast in the eye because it's so dark to them that in wherever they are in their life, they don't want to let that knowledge in. Have you seen that? Because it seems like we're very quick to eradicate a man who has been accused of doing wrongdoing against a grown woman. But and we should do that, right? I mean, I think after the Me Too movement, we got to kind of see what the evidence is instead of having emotional reactions based on predetermined factors. But when it just seems, again, even with the Catholics, the Mormons are going through this right now. It seems to be this resistance to actually wanting to face what is happening. Have you seen any of that in your research?
Well, it's called cognitive dissonance. And what makes Epstein different from these other scandals is that the government complicity. It makes it a completely different beast. And a lot of people just are in denial about it. There's no one in my family that has read any of the books that I've ever written.
Yeah.
I had a brother-in-law who read one of my books, and he wasn't such a good husband to my sister, given his drinking and his love of prostitutes. So, but he was the only one that ever read anything I wrote. And that's the kind of denial we're dealing with. But when you have a pathology, you go through three different phases. You have awareness. Now, we do have awareness of Jeffrey Epstein. Then there's acceptance. And I think that these emails are actually augmenting Americans' acceptance, because there's just some stuff in those emails that's too evil to avoid. Although the mainstream media is doing its best to not show the more malignant emails. But so, and then the next step is action. So awareness, acceptance, action. And I think we're moving towards awareness. And when we get a critical mass of awareness, there'll be a sea change, and we'll be able to take action. And people are calling us. Someone put on an Epstein demonstration in Sacramento over the weekend. And we supported them to the best of our abilities. And we're encouraging people to start these protests in whatever state they're in, and we'll do our best to help them. And it's going to have to be a grassroots movement, because the billionaires aren't really going to underwrite Epstein Justice.
Yeah, right. 100%. Hey guys, real quick, I'm talking to the men out there. When your testosterone goes down, you get slower, you're tired, and we're always looking for ways to figure out how to raise our testosterone. We're Googling it like a hypochondriac, and low T keeps coming up. Doctors act like TRT is no big deal. Just weekly shots for the rest of your life. Cool. Then you go deeper and realize what you're actually signing up for. $3,000 a year to shut down your body's natural production forever. That's terrifying. The fertility thing really got me. What if I still want to have kids, right? I mean, XG wants to have kids. He needs that T up, bro. That's why I love Mars Men. Mars Men gives you the same benefits of optimized testosterone, energy, strength, focus without shutting down your body. No synthetics, no needles, no dependency. It's like hitting the reset button on your hormone factory instead of shutting it down. Just real natural ingredients like
Tongkat Ali, Shilajit, zinc, boron, and more.
that support healthy T level stamina and recovery. Finally, found something that gives me the benefits without all the scary long-term stuff. All right. So I love it. I take it. So here's what we're doing there. Mars Men is made in the USA and third-party tested. They got a 90-day money-back guarantee, so there's no risk. Worst case, you don't absolutely love it and you get your money back, okay? But over 91% of users report higher energy levels. Thousands of guys are feeling incredible results. Just check out the reviews on the website to see for yourself. So here's what we're doing. For a limited time, our listeners get 50% off for life plus free shipping and 3 free gifts at mengotomars.com. That's mengotomars.com for 50% off and free gifts when you check out. After your purchase, they will ask you where you heard about them. Please support our show and tell them we sent you. Hey guys, real quick, my date's going to be in Batavia. Then the following week, April 3rd, I'm in Raleigh, North Carolina. Then I'm the next night, I'm in Atlanta. And then on April 16th, I'm in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Then I'm in Toronto. Then I'm in Dallas, Fort Worth, okay, then Huntington Beach. Then I'm doing my live comedy special taping for Gas Digital in Austin on the May 22nd, Albuquerque. The 1,000th episode is sold out. Lawrence, Kansas, Tulsa, Oklahoma, and then finishing out with Austin. So new dates coming, guys. Thanks. Let's get back to it. You know, Scotty the Kid, I talked about, and Danny Jones. He did the original Stop the Child Sex Trafficking March. You were there, right?
Yeah, I was there. Yeah. During the COVID.
Like thousands of people. We didn't expect it. he ran it. I want everyone to know that. I sometimes I get credited with it. It wasn't me. It was Scotty. He put that all together, and he should get all the credit for it. And then they did another one on March 7th. I believe he told me April 11th is the next one. They're going to try to go even bigger. But outside of those two protests, most of these protests seem to have like dark money involved, agent provocateurs, undercover agents, and stuff like that. So, when you see these kind of grassroots protests showing up, and you can tell they're grassroots because the media isn't covering them. They're not pushing a certain narrative, which is, illegals versus ICE, or, all these other protests that they've had. Yeah. It's like the people who are committing crimes tend to fund these astroturfed movements.
You mean there were more protesters than photographers there? Is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah, I mean, that was the big thing about No Kings. Johnny brought that up. We were looking at videos or pictures, and it was like all camera people and like two protesters. So it's interesting to me that, and what is, let's face this real quick, Nick. There was a time when this behavior wasn't seen as taboo. And I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying history. And, you saw people taking very young brides and stuff like that. And over time, we started to see that, this is having psychological effects on these young girls. Even though they're maturing into, becoming adults, they're not mentally there yet. And, you see people say this all the time. It's like, yeah, they might be maturing. If you have a 10th grade, 11th grader, she might be physically maturing, but mentally she's not there yet. And these guys who are 40, 50 years old, they have the game of somebody who's been around for a long time, and they know how to mentally manipulate these girls. And at the end of the day, you could do immense damage to this girl psychologically. And, if it's not like a dark pedo ring, she could get pregnant, and then that ruins her childhood and stuff like that. There's a million reasons why we as a society and culturally decided to stop that, But there's just something about this taboo above almost all the other taboos. Because, at one point, if you like cheated on your wife, you were ran out of society. And then as time went on, if you were gay, you got in trouble. Now that nobody cares, or at least most people don't care. Yeah. But what is it about this particular taboo that you think is I have a good reason, but I would love to hear, I have a good belief on it, but I would love to hear your thoughts on why this seems to be at the highest levels of every single power structure.
Well, child abuse, there's a pandemic of child abuse.
Pandemic.
In the United States of America. According to the Centers for Disease Control, 25% of underage girls in the United States and 5% of underage boys have been molested. Now, people in the field will tell you that that's slightly conservative for underage girls and it's very conservative for underage boys. But if you just go with those numbers, you've got over 50 million Americans who were molested when they were underage. And that, and trafficking, if you look at women that have been trafficked, regardless of how young they are, incest is generally a component of that. And so with and actually the average entry into the sex industry for a girl is 13 or 14 years old.
Jeez.
So we have this pandemic, but we can do something about it. We're not, and this has always been my reasoning on it. How can we do something about this if the government covers it up? So that has to be our first step, is to make sure that the government doesn't cover these types of crimes up. And then we can start working on other facets. And this isn't going to be an easy fight. I mean, labor's rights at the turn of the 19th, 20th century. That was a battle. That was a huge battle. A lot of people lost their lives. Civil rights was a huge battle, and people lost their lives. Women's rights, gay rights, these have been battles. And now we have another battle to fight, that we cannot let the government cover up child trafficking anymore. I mean, it's got to stop. And it's not going to be an easy fight, but I think we can do it. Granted, I'm optimistic, but I've never been diagnosed as delusional. So I just want to add that as a caveat.
Now, I don't know if you want to get into this, but there seems to be foreign assets involved in not all these, but a lot of these, in particular, Jeffrey Epstein. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Jeffrey Epstein was heavily plugged into Israeli intelligence, and he was putting together arms deals with Ehud Barak. You can go to my blog or go to the Epstein Justice blog. I've written about some arms deals that Epstein put together with Ehud Barak in Israel. And I believe that Epstein, people just automatically default that he was working for Israeli intelligence or the Mossad. And I believe that he was working for both Israeli intelligence and American intelligence because, as I said, that Epstein cover-up went all the way up to George Bush, too. I just don't see them doing that for a Mossad operation. I see them doing that for a CIA operation. And plus, I don't think the CIA is going to let the Mossad compromise American politicians on American soil without getting a cut of that intelligence. And the Mossad and the CIA there's a détente between them. I mean, it's like the Gambino crime family and the Genovese crime family.
So basically you think that, that they work together when it's mutually beneficial, and there's also times they're working against each other, basically?
I don't know if they work against each other that often, to tell you the truth.
So you think that they're always working together? Yeah. Yeah,
I mean, just like the Gambino family and the Genovese family, they work together. I mean, there's beefs, of course.
Yeah.
But they always work together because they know if they start slaughtering each other, it's going to be bad for business.
So the big move, there was a big kind of time on Twitter, the legacy media trying to label him as a Russian asset. And then, the Twitter pushing back as, are you crazy? This is nuts. But there's a part of me that goes, I think Epstein worked with everybody. And it's not that he was a Russian asset, but if there was opportunity for money and power, do you think there was a chance that he did do some stuff with Russian intelligence?
Well, he got Ehud Barak. The Israelis wanted to take out the Syrian dictator, but they wanted to make sure that the Russians were cool with it. And Epstein knew a number of oligarchs, and they were able to facilitate a meeting between Ehud Barak and Putin. So those were the kind of connections that Jeffrey Epstein had. I don't think he was plugged into intelligence, but he could definitely work out something with Russian oligarchs, like he did with Ehud Barak. And actually, Putin vetoed the murder, so the Israelis didn't murder him.
Yeah, and then eventually, there's so much going on with that. They wanted to go to Syria, and Russia was helping Syria defend their territory. But then the Ukraine came, and Russia focused on that, and then they just moved into Syria because Syria had nobody backing them at that point. And it's just a crazy, crazy, crazy thing. What do you think is in those last? So we've gotten 2% of the files. You know, we got 98% more, but they tell us half of the emails are out. So whatever it is, that 98% is really big files. And again, we go back to the pedo panic people really laying their entire reputation on how they've interpreted the 2% of the emails. What is your thoughts on what is in the rest of the 98%?
Well, it's obviously highly explosive. I mean, the stuff that was in this latest tranche, some of it was extremely explosive. So I can only imagine what those documents are. But I've said all along, we don't need another tranche of documents to start prosecuting people. Sarah Kellen, Leslie Groff, Adriana Marcinkova, and Leslie Groff, they knew all about Jeffrey Epstein's network. And there were other henchwomen that knew all about Jeffrey Epstein's network. And if the Department of Justice had the will, it would subpoena all of Jeffrey Epstein's recruiters / procurers and indict them on multiple counts of child trafficking. And child trafficking is a heavy sentence, as I said. In the federal system, it's 15 to life. So they would indict them on multiple counts of child trafficking, and then they would be looking at 10 lifetimes in prison, and they would roll over on the perps in a heartbeat. It would be a RICO prosecution, essentially. And we could do that. We could do that tomorrow. We could have done that 10 years ago. And actually, one of the documents, you'll have to excuse my voice going.
It's fine. You're doing great.
I do lots of interviews these
You're
days.
crushing. You're crushing.
So when I think of that, Sarah, in the latest tranche of documents, Sarah Kellen is actually hired an attorney and she wants to make a deal. Sarah Kellen was number 2. Right after Ghislaine Maxwell, there was Sarah Kellen. She knows everything. She knows who's blackmailed. She knows who are the perps. She knows who all the victims are. Sarah Kellen knows the entire network. And she made an overture through her lawyer to become a government witness, and our government turned her down.
Oh my God. It's just insanity, dude. It's just insanity. Now, how do you think they pick these politicians? How early into the process have you learned anything about? Do they? Because I've always thought like a big part of Pornhub and giving away for free is data. What are you looking at and what are you commenting on? And then through this data, they can figure out who has political aspirations and can they push them forward and then eventually blackmail them. You know, like, do you think they come in with this or do they get set up? Are they willingly getting set up? I mean, no one wants to get blackmailed, but like they're the type of psychopath that's just like, fine, I don't care, just feed the beast.
I believe that there's both cases. There was someone that was a mayor of a sleepy town that ended up as a U.S. senator because he was compromised very early on. But you have to keep in mind that our politicians, they have a very potent psychological alchemy of lust, arrogance, and a lust for power. And nothing makes very smart people stupid like lust and arrogance.
Lust is the worst.
And look at Bill Clinton. I mean, Bill Clinton's a very smart guy, but he never met a skirt he didn't like. So I think that lust is very powerful with these guys, and that's what makes them so easy to compromise. And then a lot of them start going towards forbidden fruit, and it makes them much easier to compromise. But when you see people that look like fine, upstanding citizens, like George Mitchell, he was this old grandfatherly dude who was the Senate Majority Leader in the 80s, and Epstein was providing him with little girls.
Oh my God.
So regardless of what these dudes look like, they can be monsters for sure. I mean, that's why they do so well, is they fit in.
Well, it's very weird that we have term limits on a state and city level, but we don't have term limits on a federal level. And it's like, once you got someone compromised, why do you want to have to do that again? You can keep them there 30 years, feeding the beast and getting everything you want from them.
That's such a good point. Lindsey Graham being the perfect example of that.
Talk about a mask off, or should I say makeup off, that guy. I mean, unbelievable.
Truly.
You guys don't think Lindsey Graham is gay, do you?
I mean, everybody knows except for the reflection in the mirror, apparently.
And the people that vote for him in South Carolina.
Yeah, and who does this guy lose? Who loses to that guy?
No, dude,
all
I
the
lived
time?
down there for years. He has such an operation down there, dude. You have no idea what. I mean, he's a god down. They love him down there, it's because he's a good politician. Like when he's one on one with people, shaking hands, kissing babies. He's really good at that, dude. He has like a folksy, like warm. Surprising, I know, but he does. He's not like, he doesn't come across like the lizard that he is.
Do you think that anything will change, seeing that he wants to basically send their kids to a meat grinder?
I love you. Yeah, when he's down there next time asking them to send their kids away, yeah, maybe. I hope so.
It's so insane to me. It's so I'm gonna ask you the $1 million question, Nick. Ooh. And it's the question that is heated on the internet. People are again putting their reputations on the line based on 2% of the emails being out, and Joe Rogan just had a guest on that was like, from what I can tell, there's really nothing that crazy going on in the email. And Joe's like, are you crazy?
Yeah.
Like, how can you say that? So the big question is, Nick, is Trump involved? And it may seem like duh, but there's a lot of people that have most likely convinced themselves that he's not involved, or do you think he's not involved?
He's been very recalcitrant about these documents coming out. Now, it's one of two things. He's protecting someone or some entity and or himself, too. And Donald Trump did a lot of business with the Italian mafia. And if you were building in New York in the 70s, you had to do business with the Italian mafia. He did business with the Russian mafia. And he was a friend of Epstein for a very long time. And I don't think that you really had to hang out with Jeffrey Epstein very long to know exactly what he was about. Melinda Gates spotted it very quickly. So my thoughts on it is he very well might be compromised. There was a girl that came forward, Katie Johnson. She was 13 years old when she said she got molested by Trump and Epstein. And she was represented by a grandstanding attorney named Lisa Bloom. And from what I understand, now, people that I've talked to believe her. I mean, discerning people that I've talked to that met her believe her. But from what I understand, Lisa Bloom picked her up one morning. She had deposited her in an LA hotel and picked her up one morning and said, you're going to do a press conference. And it was right before the election, and I think Lisa Bloom was using her for political expediency. And that's when she basically recanted everything.
Really? At the press conference?
Right, yeah. And so with her, I mean, if there was also a supporting affidavit too by a Tiffany Doe. And I wanted to know what really went on there. And I spent 3 years looking for her. And I finally found her. She's living in the Southwest. She's selling real estate. She's actually put together a good life for herself. She's got a boyfriend. They go to Europe. And she refuses to talk to me, even though it took me 3 years to find her. She refuses to talk to me. So what am I supposed to do with that? I mean, how can I come down 100%? I'm cautious. How can I come down 100% if she's not even willing to talk to me? So I don't know.
Damn.
About that example.
It's very interesting. You know, Whitney Webb had a person on said Trump was right there. You know, but you know, and that's when it really woke me up because you know, just like you, I just like you, Nick. I have a lot of respect. I respect you a lot, and I respect her immense as well. She said that. I'm like, well, that might mean something there, but it doesn't seem to have nothing concrete has come out. And again, you brought up Republicans and George Bush Sr. and the connections to the Franklin scandal. Dennis Herzl or whatever his name was, Hastert, yeah, he got busted for pedophilia. And maybe in the end it comes out he wasn't involved, which would be an insane thing to be surrounded by so much darkness and have the wherewithal not to get involved with it. But again, this war seems like they got something on him. They got something on Lindsey Graham. Maybe what they got is them together, and they're just like, let's just work together and just make sure this never comes out, you know, something like that.
Hey, Nick, I mean, obviously, do you believe in like the beef jerky theories that it was human meat?
Oh, yeah, the great questions. Some of the stuff.
Okay, so I've been going through these documents and actually investigating them. And I believe that muffins, when Freud, his rap was phallic symbols. And someone pointed out to Freud that he smoked a cigar quite often. And Freud said sometimes a cigar is just a cigar. So I've gone through muffins, and I've concluded that muffins are just muffins. And I've concluded that steaks are just steaks. With pizza, you get something completely different. And I haven't gotten into jerky yet.
As indifferent would you be? It just doesn't make sense, right?
Yeah, I mean, so there is a producer named Barry Josephson in the emails. And Epstein hooks him up with a 16-year-old, and he's supposed to call the 16-year-old's mother. And that's who's going to, I guess the mother is pimping her 16-year-old out.
Jeez.
Which happens a lot. But so, and then further on the email chain, you've got Barry Josephson talking about Bill Gates and them having a conversation. And they're saying, how can we get rid of poor people? Jeez. He didn't say, how can we get rid of poverty? He said, how can we get rid of poor people? So this guy molests underage girls that are being overseen by their mother, and he wants to eradicate poor people from the country. Now, he shows up in one of those pizza emails, and it's kind of a strange thing because Epstein says, meet me at 83rd and Lexington, and the pizza is a block away. Now, if it's kind of like a drug dealer or something. Meet me at 83rd and Lexington, and the trap house is a block away. Why wouldn't Epstein just meet him at the pizza place? And then there's one called Slicing Pizza. That's from Ehud Barak. And he's the nastiest of them all, according to Virginia Giuffre. And then there's another one that says Alert Pizza, without anything in the body of the email. And then Dr. Harry Fish has pizza and grape soda with Jeffrey Epstein 6 times. And I called up Dr. Fish and I said, Harry, my name's Nick Bryant. I'm a journalist. Ooh. And I'd like to know what type of pizza you like and what's your favorite brand of grape soda. And surprisingly, he never got back to me. I was really hurt by that. So then I sent him an email that said essentially the same thing. And he still hasn't gotten back to me. So I know that there was Pizzagate, and I looked into Pizzagate, and I knew that there were codes, but I couldn't find what other people were extrapolating. But with pizza, that seems to be a pretty definitive code with Jeffrey Epstein.
When you go through the emails, it's all pretty dark, but is there anything that shocked you that you were like, wow, this is even darker than I thought?
When Mark, hold on a sec. When the UCLA neuroscientist is talking to Epstein about how to get infants to suck harder, that kicked me in the gut. I mean, that was so malignant that I was somebody, and I've been exposed to a lot of stuff over the years, but I'd never been exposed to something like that.
What did it say exactly?
It was telling Jeffrey Epstein that how to get an infant to suck harder.
Oh, jeez, Louise. It's crazy.
And this guy had an MD and a PhD, and he was a neuroscientist at UCLA. He's off the website now, and they're not renewing his contract. And then there was
unbelievable. The grace we give these people.
There was a torture. The torture comes up occasionally, and this sheikh sent Jeffrey Epstein, we talked about it earlier, guy from the United Arab Emirates, sent Jeffrey Epstein a torture video, and Epstein said, I loved the torture video. Torture also comes up with a Harvard mathematician. And it's a little more opaque. It isn't straightforward. I mean, they could be talking about something else, but I sent an email to the mathematician, and I just wanted to ask him if he was talking about torturing humans or girls or what he was talking about torturing. And he never got back to me. I was offended by that. But he is no longer with Harvard at this point. So these emails are having a ripple effect. But Les Wexner lied to Congress about his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. He told multiple lies that I can demonstrate. So we need, just as a start, Les Wexner should be indicted for perjury before Congress. And that's a 5-year sentence.
I think society needs 4 pillars to function properly. It needs to, combat. It can't allow crime stealing. It can't allow unnecessary violence. We must protect children at all costs, and we must shun lying. And it just seems like lying is so acceptable now, whether it's in front of Congress or on Twitter, just saying blatantly false stuff with no ramifications at all. I don't know how you change that. Well, we can start by making sure our government doesn't aid and abet child trafficking. I think that would be a good start.
Have you heard any new news or anything that we haven't heard about Zorro Ranch and him impregnating females?
Yeah,
and all
Zorro
that?
Ranch. I was going to ask you about that. Your thoughts? They're supposedly trying to go through the ranch now. I doubt there's anything there. It's been so long.
They say there's a couple bodies buried. They're supposed to do like where they look under the ground type of shit, some LiDAR
sonar.
Stuff. Yeah, to look up for bodies. But
okay, so that document is very fallible. The document where there's 2 bodies buried. What happened there was there's a New Mexico talk show host named Eddie Aragon. And someone had written that to Eddie Aragon and also said that he had child pornography videos. And he told Eddie Aragon that if Eddie Aragon gave him 1 Bitcoin, he would give that material to Eddie Aragon. So that document is highly suspect right out of the gate, just because of the genesis of it. And I called Eddie Aragon, and he never got back to me. I was going to ask him if he gave the dude a Bitcoin, but I don't think that he did. even though he never got back to me. A lot of my investigations, people just don't get back to me. It's kind of sad. I'm a nice guy,
You are a nice guy. You're a wonderful interviewer. We're not going to keep you long because your voice is going through, and you probably got about 14 other podcasts today, so we don't want to ruin you for the rest of them. Epstein Justice. What is it? How can we help? How can we participate? What would you like people to do?
I would like to hook up with your buddy Scotty right out of the gate.
I can make that happen.
Yeah, he sounds like a good guy. So with Epstein Justice, we want an independent congressional commission. And as I said earlier, the independent congressional commission would have two objectives. One, we want to know why the government covered up child trafficking. And two, we want the perpetrators to be prosecuted. Now, independent congressional commissions often farm out investigations to non-government personnel. And that is the only chance that we're going to have with this to get truth, is through an independent congressional commission that's farming out an investigation to non-government personnel. Like it might incorporate me or someone like me who's very up on this case. There's a number of us. And that is, I believe, going to be the best shot to clean out our government that we're ever going to have in our lifetime, or we might ever have as Americans, because our leaders are determined to take us off a cliff.
Yep.
The middle class. I mean, and the reason why the middle class is disintegrating is because of legislation that our politicians pass.
Yep.
So we need to fix this now, and this is going to be our only opportunity. And I know there's three trends that are bucking this. There's three trends that are bucking this. You've got the right-left divide, which the media and our politicians have enabled. Well, people on the right think people on the left are mentally ill and vice versa.
Yeah.
I met a woman in New York who thought the only solution was a two-state solution. I mean, so you've got that trend. We're divided and conquered. If you're on the right and something goes bad, you blame it on the left. Yeah. If you're on the left and something goes wrong, you blame it on the right. So we're divided and conquered. The next trend is that's superimposed on that is, as Americans, we've been conditioned to believe we can't affect change.
Yes.
We've been conditioned that way. So you're superimposing those two things. And then the third thing is our politicians are compromised. So you're superimposing three trends on each other. But now is the time. And I know this is the only issue that can bring the right and the left together. I've been in the anti-trafficking, I've spoken at a bunch of anti-trafficking conferences over the years. And a huge constituent of anti-trafficking people are on the feminist left and the religious right. And we have no problems working with each other over this issue. So this is the issue that can unite right and left. And I believe that with these documents, there can, as I said before, awareness, acceptance, action, I think we're going to reach a critical mass of acceptance where we can have a sea change. But Epstein Justice is going to need a lot of help. We're growing. And when I started this, I didn't know what I was doing at all. I didn't have a clue. Someone had to start it. So I started it. And now we have a definitive path. And we have a definitive plan. We have monthly webinars where we get into Epstein-related information. Our next monthly webinar is going to be on the 24th. And we're going to talk to some Epstein victims about how the latest tranche of documents has not been beneficial to them at all. And then we also have Facebook groups by state, and we're populating these Facebook groups so we can have groups that are big enough to put pressure on their legislators, their federal legislators. And we need donations too. And someone asked me a while back, why do you need money?
Yeah.
And so because of what we are doing, and we have 501c3 status, our bookkeeping has to be pristine. So we pay an accountant. And, when that person said to me, why do you need money? I said, well, I just cut our accountant a check, and I didn't ask her that. Should I go ask my accountant what she needs money for?
Yeah.
So we need donations, and that would be hugely helpful.
Well, we'll make sure the link is at top. This is the final question. I don't want to push it. But if you had anybody to be on these committees, is there anybody you're thinking would be really great to be on these committees? Because it just seems like it's a swamp full of swamp creatures. Is there anyone in particular you think would be really great representing your side on this hearing?
On the commission, Thomas Massey and Rokana have endorsed Epstein Justice. I trust those two guys. That would be a great start. And there's other people too, like Nancy Mace.
Yeah.
So there are people that we could trust to be on this commission.
Do you think it gets to the point where it's such political? It's so the feeling of the masses is so strong that these people might not have to worry about their safety as much. That the momentum is so strong that if anything happens to these people, it makes it even worse than before.
I do. And momentum, the reason why we've got all these documents now is because of momentum. That's the only reason why. And we just have to keep up the pressure. Before, the battle was for the documents. And I doubt that we're going to get any more documents, but we don't need any more documents, as I've explained. So we need, once the American populace, there's 300 million adults in the United States, around 300. If we had 10% of those adults, if we had 30 million people be part of Epstein Justice, we would be a juggernaut. We would not be able to be stopped. When the Revolutionary War went down, a third were with our founding fathers, a third were Tories, and a third were neutral. So we just need 30%. We need 10% of Americans to do the right thing, and we will have a juggernaut, and we will be able to change society. I do believe that. And again, I've never been diagnosed as delusional.
Okay. Nick, this is great. We appreciate you power throughing with your voice. It means a lot to us. It's always an honor to have you on the show. You're doing the Lord's work. One more time, tell them where they can go to find you and where they can find Epstein Justice.
EpsteinJustice.com. There's our landing page right there. And if you want to look at the books I've written or the blogs I've written, you can go to nickbryantnyc.com.
All right, man. Well, all those links in the description. Please support Nick. I'm going to do it as soon as I get off. And Nick, man, as always, it's an honor to have you on. You come and talk to us on our crazy little show. So we always do appreciate it. And open door whenever you want. Come on, brother.
Okay, dude. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys. Let's break down the show. All right, guys. What'd you think of Nick Bryant, one of our greatest journalists of our generation, of this generation, or any generation?
All the generations.
All the generations.
Dude, we should have asked him to see the little black book because he probably has it, right?
Yeah.
It'd be nice.
I mean, that's crazy to get that. Because there's only one of them, right?
That's
Or do you just get a copy?
I don't know.
That's scary to have. That
is scary to have.
Like, I think someone would go and be like, "Hey, this guy has it. Let's go get it from his house."
You're messing with power. That's power.
Truly.
And they kill.
Well, his name was on the list.
Yeah, his name was in the emails.
Yeah, and not in a good way, as in like, "Hey, this is our friend."
Yeah. Yeah, guys, I know we're keeping this line open for pedophiles, but that Nick Bryant, what a great guy, huh?
I would love for him to get the interviews he wants, with some of these guys.
All those phone calls that he never gets returned.
Well, Johnny, I'm asking Johnny because he follows NFL. Do you follow NFL?
No, not really, no.
So did you hear that the Giants owner moved ownership of the Giants to his kids' trust? So,
Wait, because of the Epstein stuff?
Yep.
Really? Because he's worried they'll come after it. Huh?
Yep.
That makes sense.
I mean, dude.
I heard that there's pictures of Cohen in there too, right? From the Mets. Like I heard that.
Of course there is. He's a rich ass fucking New Yorker. Johnny, dude, David Stern was in it.
That's insane.
Dude, I honestly,
I hate this
completely
company.
forgot that Stern died. Like I totally forgot, man.
He's the Mandela effect.
Yeah, possibly. Yeah, I totally forgot that he was dead until recently.
But in Europe, they're firing and arresting people. Here, they're like, I'm going to take a sabbatical.
That surprises me too. Like I would think that they would be just as ambivalent.
I'll tell you why, Johnny. Because
not doing anything.
America, they use our Federal Reserve and our military for all of the way they control power, the way they manufacture culture. No. So once the first domino falls, and there will be a domino, then you're going to start seeing heads roll. But maybe. They're holding off for as long as they can. And Nick's whole thing about trying to get a committee, I would love to do it. I just don't know what kind of teeth they'll have.
How could it have teeth? Yeah. They aren't going to do that.
I mean, the biggest thing you can do is get them. I mean, you got to arrest people who lie under oath.
There's literally 2 guys that give a shit about this. Maybe 3 people total. It's like, and within the office, like that are really trying.
Yeah. I mean, hopefully, I know everyone thinks elections. I think elections are rigged to a point if they can make it seem like it's close. That's what polls are about. Polls are psychological operations to get you believe that their lizard is doing well compared to the guy you think is going to do well.
See, I have a little conspiracy theory about this. Remember years
By the way, it was not jizz on my shirt. Oh yeah, by the way, I have a totally different outfit on.
Yeah, you're good on this. You're good on this one.
Remember they used to do exit polls like that they would put out.
Yes.
And they said they didn't they stopped putting those out because they didn't want to influence people not to go vote. But what I think it is that they needed time to change the results.
And that changed after Hillary Clinton.
Yeah.
And they say if the exit polls are off 2 to 3%, that there's fraud going on.
And so they stopped publishing them.
Yep.
In that window of time. Yeah.
100%, dude. 100. If you go to Sam Tripoli, you can get my dates, and I got some dates for you. Boy, do I got dates.
Oh, boy.
Oh.
Okay. May 26th, I'm in Batavia. Then I'm in Raleigh, North Carolina. Then I'm in Atlanta. Then I'm in, Toronto, excuse me. Oh, before Toronto, I'm in Hamilton, Arizona. Hamilton, Canada. Then I'm in Toronto. Then I'm in Dallas. Then I'm in Fort Worth. Then I'm in Huntington Beach. Then I'm shooting my live comedy special taping. Is May 22nd at the Creek in the Cave, being produced by Gas Digital. Albuquerque, 1000th episode is sold out. Lawrence, Kansas, Tulsa, Oklahoma, and then finishing out the year in Austin. John, will you go back to my dates? Do I have any July or August dates?
I think you might be.
I don't think I do.
You're lazy, bro.
No, I think I'm gonna. I think I'm not.
No July, no August.
Yep, I think I'm not going to do the road on those days.
It's summertime. I mean,
it's so hot.
Should we take we'll just record ahead like we did for Christmas for a couple weeks in July? That'd be nice.
I'm not
July.
You saw him think about that? He's like midsummer right before.
I mean, you look
December.
forward to that all year.
Yeah.
We could do it if we wanted.
Let's maybe so
that'll be
if we
after
take
the
off the
1,000.
month, we'd have to do 8 of them.
Because that'd be after the
Doesn't have to be the
1,000.
whole month, but like 3 weeks or something like that.
Or 2 weeks even.
2 weeks even would be great.
So that'd be 4. Yeah, we could do that.
Record ahead and just figure it out.
Yeah. And we'll make sure they're evergreen.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great idea. I'll go to samtripoli.com. All my videos all my premium content. It is fire. The Kurt and Sam experiment. It will be back. I promise you. Everyone's just super busy. Go down.
You guys are the best together. It's so funny. Like
Just me, just riding the wave.
Yeah.
Did you see Michael Tracy's threatening to sue?
I heard you mention that, but no, I haven't seen that.
Because he keeps going, I'll see you soon.
In court, he means?
Yeah.
Well, about what though? What like
Calling him that he does certain things.
right? But how? I guess I mean it's what I don't know. I don't know what to say about that. That's like
Cash Daddies, talk about it.
yeah, it's a great place to meet other people who want to get their shit together for retirement and not be poor in their old age. You know, so check it out. Even you can start small. You know, I mean, there are people on there just investing, you know, a couple $100 or something. And then we also have people investing much more than that, and certainly making much more. But you got to start somewhere. So check it out. Howie Dewey.
What is DGI?
Savant. That is the Dow Jones Industrial Average.
Okay.
It's the ETF for that, I believe.
How do you invest in that?
Well, there is an ETF that owns. This is like BlackRock ETFs. It owns all the stock on like in proportion on the Dow Jones Industrial Average, which is a bunch of industrial
See, you learned
stocks.
something. Now you learned something on Cash Days. Go back. Sam Tripoli. Chaos Twins is coming. I got to set that up today. Buy gold and silver. Oh, T-shirts, dude. T-shirts. We got to get in T-shirts. tinfoilhattT-shirts.com. We got the Sam Tripoli. I get my news from Sam Tripoli.
That dude is yoked, by the way. Look at that. That guy's yoked.
Yeah.
Look at him.
Yeah, for sure. He's like the Minnesota. He's like the Mall of America Viking that came and saw me.
You will not look as good in that shirt as the guy in that picture.
Yeah, you look better. That's why. Mineral King, Pat Meltich, Aquacure, Hydrogen Brown Gas, Hydrogen Keeps You Young, Harley Ray, Crystals, Candles, Sage. Again, Chemical Free Body. You know I take it every day. Joel Staley helped me get in shape. EMF Rocks. Brain Supreme and Prometheus. Anything for you?
Yes. If you want to sign Sam Tripoli canvas, head over to Extreme Marks the Spot. They're right there. All these signed.
Oh, real quick. Also,
Sam
go look at Word War Debate while Johnny talks about what he wants to talk about.
Yeah, check me out on Twitter at Johnny Woodard, Instagram at Johnny A. Woodard.
Go to Word War Debate.
Oh, you don't have it on
Doing
there.
shit. We're in these streets, though.
Dude, we are in these streets. Word War Debate. It's going to happen in April. Hopefully this week we'll find out if we have some funding.
When do you think in April, if you had a guess?
Probably
Like late or early?
whatever my schedule will allow us.
Okay.
The Contender series go up. The Contender go down. Right there, the contender series, dude. We have 32 debaters. We're having our first inaugural episode is starting, I believe, March 22nd, and we're having our own March Madness, and we're going to find the next great master debater.
Can you watch those debates, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
You'll be able to watch them and vote.
Master debater, huh?
Yeah, see?
Master debater.
Yeah, we're finding the next great debater.
Last guy competes with Sam.
Yeah, yeah. And
The GM of the Ravens says, I understand how people might feel that way from afar, but nobody's more upset about this than us. I'm gutted by it, actually.
yeah, you can tell why, as you guys treated Max Crosby cold as he showed up. He goes, it was weird energy. You know? He's so full of shit. Yeah. But back to Nick Bryant. We love him. The fact that some guy would slum like that with us is a blessing. And
good energy. That guy.
He has great energy.
Yeah,
and
great energy.
The key to the interview was trying to find stuff that maybe we hadn't talked about yet. I wanted it to be a lot fresher. So I asked questions that I hadn't had answers to. And I wanted to make sure that the episode was great.
Well, this Epstein thing is like an onion, too.
Yes.
You just, the more you learn, the more questions you have about shit. It's truly insane.
Do you think? Oh, wait. Before you, do you think Trump's in it? Because he says he's just not even.
Well, I mean, again, I didn't think Trump had anything to do with the Whitney Webb interview with the victim. So I'm open-minded to any of it. I'm not going to go either way.
It's funny. The people in the comments now are gonna be like, he's sucking Trump off. He loves Trump now.
I don't love
If
Trump.
it was Clinton, you would say he was definitely a PDF.
Because there's like a million different relationships, and you could say Trump. I'm just saying. If there's something that says Trump did it, I'm all for taking him.
There is somebody saying it, though. I mean, it's what they were saying. You know what I mean?
But we got the guy that started the investigation saying he hasn't seen anything yet.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
No,
It's
I'm with you. Yeah.
Dude, I don't care who the fuck you are. You do this awful shit.
Also, Trump's a murderer now, so I mean, he's
I was
done,
about to say
he's
the only
done
thing that
bad
makes
shit.
the only thing that makes me think that he is because he went
So hard.
pro-Israel. Yeah. Other than that, if it wasn't for Israel, I was like, there's no way they don't have anything on him.
100%.
They have to have. That's the only thing where I'm like, they have to have something on
The
the dude.
stuff they have on Lindsey Graham's, it's so bad. He must be getting his shit split.
Yeah, what is it? Laura Loomer's suit, right? Is where all that shit's coming out now about Lindsey Graham being a gay fella.
Yeah. I mean, dude, it's all there. I mean, you don't even need her to say it the way.
No.
Oh my God, I don't even care about you guys. I'm with Israel. It's like, get the fuck out of here. Even Matt Walsh, who is just chugging on Zio dick, is like, dude, how are you a senator?
Yeah, he's been better.
How are you a senator saying this stuff as Ben Shapiro's eyebrows get bigger and bigger?
He's the worst.
Yeah.
How do you have anybody watching that? I don't believe any of his views at all.
I bet it's a lot of old people, but
the
numbers are.
They just love him. He looks like my grandson. These guys,
He's such a good boy.
They're so anti-Semitic.
We should have seen him go after Pierce Morgan. He did a whole thing on him, and then Pierce Morgan went after him. They're like beefing. It's kind of entertaining.
Pierce Morgan seems to have come to our side.
Yeah.
Yeah, that gives me credit. I give him credit for having.
I give you credit too.
Anybody that changes their mind publicly, I give a lot of credit to.
Yeah, and we should allow people the right to change their mind.
Yeah, and that's why I'm not big to condemn people who have,
You're not big Dikembe Mutombo?
Oh boy, I love Dikembe.
All right, guys.